Hey everybody, so this is the first lecture, and today we're going to jump into Revit just like we started in class, and we are actually going to build a little office building together. So in this office building, we'll quickly add walls, floor, a roof, interior walls, windows, doors, room names, things like that. And then this will also be your first assignment. So if you work along with me, you're also doing the first assignment. And then we'll just print the floor plan for the first assignment here. Okay. So this is the Revit landing page, and this is where you decide if you're going to actually create a project or create a family. Remember what I said in lecture, that families exist in projects, but not the other way around. So a typical project consists of a file with a bunch of families already sort of preloaded in it. So I'm going to start a new project. So I'm going to go under models here and just click new. And we're going to start with a template file. Now, just use any default template file. We just want to have as little information and views set up in the file as possible. We can always create those as we move forward. Now, if you see nothing in here like I do, I'm going to go to Browse. I'm going to go to my computer. Let's see. I'm going to go to the C drive. I'm going to go to Program Data, Autodesk, Revit 2021, Templates, English Imperial, and I'm just going to pick Default. Now, that's only if you don't see any templates. If you see them and you see a default one that you can use, architecture default, MATC default, anything like that, go ahead and use that. All right, I'm going to hit open and then OK. You may be hearing my little guy, Leo. He's upstairs watching Paw Patrol. Okay, so here's our Revit environment, right? So we have the quick access toolbar up top here. We have our main toolbar here. We have our properties palette here, project browser here, and our main work area. In addition, we have a toolbar down here and one over here. Okay, so let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to save this file, okay? Now you can save it wherever you need to save it, onto your laptop, your home computer, whatever it is you're working on. Just make sure you know where it is. So I'm just going to do File, Save As, Project. And I'm just going to put this on my desktop. And I'm just going to call this my name underscore, let's say underscore tech 2 assignment 1. What I also like to do is type in a V01 after it, okay? Because I might do another version of this, or whatever the case may be, and it can just sort of build if it needs to. If it doesn't, that's fine too. It can just, your final file can be this. All right, I'm going to save it here. So it's saved on my desktop, and if you look up at this top sort of text line here, it tells you what Revit your version you're using, as well as the file here. Okay, so let's start by creating some grid lines, some grid datum lines. Okay, so as I sort of alluded to in class, grid lines are sort of our way in which we navigate around our project. Things are always sort of dimensioned in relation to grid lines. So this wall is 10 feet from grid line A. This window is 2 feet from grid line B, whatever the case may be. So I'm going to start drawing my grids and my project in the level 1 floor plan. So I am currently in the level 1 floor plan because I can see it here and I can see it down here. Okay, so let's make some grid lines. I'm going to go to Architecture, Datum, Grid. And I'm just going to draw from bottom to top 2 vertical ones and then from right to left 2 horizontal ones. So all I did was click Datum. My toolbar changed up here, but I'm just going to go up. There's one. Draw another one. Don't worry about where it is in relation to the first one. I'm going to go right to left. Oop, that one was a little crooked. I'm just going to do Control Z to undo that. There we go. And there we go. Now you may have noticed that it wants to align to the previous one you drew, or it wants to sort of relate to it. I can grab this grid line here, grab its endpoint and drag it over so it lines up with that top grid line. My first 2 grid lines already aligned, so I'm happy with those. Okay, so this outline here represents the extents of our little office building. So I'm going to select grid line 2. Now I should say, if you want to just get out of a command and just leave the grid command or whatever, just hit escape. Hit escape a bunch of times, or you can click this modify button up here, which does the same thing. Okay, so let's get these positioned where we want them. So I'm going to select grid line 2. Now, one thing you'll notice when you select something, your properties palette changes and lets you know what it is exactly you're clicking on or doing. Now, notice this little dimension string down here. It says 83 feet for me. Yours might say something different. I'm just going to click on it, type in 100 feet. Okay, now I'm going to drag these grid lines over a little bit so it crosses it. I might, I'm not going to do that one yet. I'm going to select grid line 4 now, and I can see it's 39 feet and change from grid line 3. I'm going to go ahead and move that down so it's 60 feet from grid line 3. Okay. Now I'm going to grab these 1 and 2 grid lines again and make sure they pass grid lines. So all the grid lines sort of overlap with each other. Okay, that looks pretty good. So this 100-foot by 60-foot box will be our sort of boundary of our office building. Let's change grid line 3 to be grid line A and grid line 4 to be grid line B. Rarely will you see numbers on both horizontal and vertical grid lines. So I'm going to just click on 3, double click, and just type in A. Click in space, double click on grid line 4, type in B, click in space. Okay, that looks good. All right, let's do this now. Let's go. So right now we're on the level 1 floor plan. Let's go to the north elevation. Okay, the north elevation is going to be as if you're standing here looking this direction down into the grid line area or where a building's going to reside. Okay, so I'm going to click on north elevation. Okay, so this makes sense. I'm seeing grid lines 1 and 2 because they're running perpendicular to where I'm standing and looking. And I'm not seeing grid lines A or B because they're really, I'm looking directly at those right now. Like it's the whole work area, if you will, an infinite plane of the work area. We could talk further about that on Tuesday or our next class. So right now it says level 1 and level 2. So this particular template file gives you 2 levels to sort of start with, level 1 and level 2. Let's zoom in to level 2 here. I'm going to double click on the word level 2 and type in roof. Hit enter. Now you're going to get this little warning. It says, would you like to rename corresponding views? We want to click yes here. And what will happen is over in the project browser, level 2 will then be changed to roof because I'm changing it. I can also check, don't show me this message again. Okay, so now it says roof over here, roof here, level 1, level 1. Let's also change the height to 20 feet. So that moved up. I'm going to go ahead and reposition my grid lines by selecting the grid line and just grabbing that little circle there and dragging, holding, clicking, holding, and dragging up. Same with these ends. I'll just bring those in a little bit. Same with this end. I'll bring this in a little. That looks like a nice drawing so far, a nice elevation, ready to be drawn. Okay, let's go back to level 1. Now you can double click on level 1 in your project browser, or you can click the level 1 tab because it's already open anyway. Now notice when I click the tab, level 1 here becomes bold. Okay, so here's the outline of our building. Let's make an exterior wall. So remember in Revit that we're always modeling when we're creating something. Even though I'm in a 2-dimensional floor plan here and I'm going to draw a wall, it is going to be made in 3 dimensions, which we'll create a view of next. Okay, so I'm going to go to Architecture, Wall, Wall Architecture, or you can click Architecture and just click the picture of the button, but if you hit the down arrow, you can just click Wall Architectural. Okay, now you'll notice our options bar has changed, and our type selector in our properties palette says generic 8-inch. Let's click on the down arrow there, and I'm going to pick generic 12-inch right there. So this is the wall we're going to build here. Now you'll see there's some controls up here. There's some controls down here. We want our wall to go from level 1, which is where we're starting from, up to the roof. So the base constraint right here says level 1. That's good. The top constraint says unconnected. Let's change that to roof. Okay, I can hit apply here then. Now I haven't drawn anything yet, but I noticed when I hit apply, this says level 1, this says roof, and now in my options bar, it also says roof here. This is another location where you can sort of change that to whatever you want. It can be unconnected, meaning you just define the height, or you can go to a specific level that's already in the project. Okay, so location line is how the wall is drawn. So it's waiting for us to draw the wall now. So I'm going to draw one up here first. I'm just going to click once and click again. You can see that as I'm drawing it, it's drawing from the middle of the wall center line. Okay, so I drew one there, draw another one there. You can sort of get the feel of this. Okay, but hit escape. Okay, so there's our wall. Okay, I could click on any of those walls. I can hit create, I could right click on it, hit create similar. So I can make the exact same type of wall. I don't have to set any settings. I can change this location line to maybe something like finish face exterior. Now watch when I draw it. It's on the edge of the wall, not the middle of the wall. So it's drawing from the edge, not the middle. Very cool. Okay, I'm going to hit escape again a couple times. I'm going to click on this one, right click, and say create similar. Okay, now I'm just going to start at this corner, and I'm going to go around the horn here to 2, down to grid line B, over to grid line 1, and back up to where I started. Hit escape a couple times. So there we go. We have our wall drawn with the outer exterior surface of the wall connecting to grid lines 1 and A. Okay, so I'm going to just do a little selection bar and delete these walls up there and just click the delete button. Or you can go ahead and click this little red X up here. Okay, so let's click on one of those walls, right? So if I click on it, it tells me it's a basic wall generic 12. Now in this type selector here, I can go in there and change it to whatever wall I want again. So let's do exterior brick on CMU. I'm going to click that. Okay, notice the wall got a little thicker. I'm going to go ahead, select the next wall, hold down Control and select all the other walls and change those to exterior brick on CMU. You can see that all the walls got a little thicker. Okay, so that we've just changed their type. Okay, so we can sort of place any wall and then switch it later. We don't have to like redraw the whole thing from scratch. Okay, so here is my floor plan so far. Now, you may or may not, get rid of that, you may or may not have dark lines defining the floor plan walls, because as you know, in a floor plan, whatever's cut has the dark line weight. Now, if you look up here on the quick access toolbar, there's this button right here called thin lines. It's activated right now. I'm gonna click it again, and now I can see that my walls are thick and they have a nice cut line weight on it. Sometimes it's nice to turn this on to sort of see what's going on in our geometries. And so that's just a handy tool for you up there. But I'm just going to turn it off so that I can see my line weights. I want this to read like an actual floor plan, which it's starting to. Okay, we got our walls. Okay, so let's make a three-dimensional view of this model, because as of now, it just looks like we made a floor plan. I don't really know what's going on in 3D. Couple ways to do it. I could go View, Create Panel, 3D View, Default 3D View. Okay, I could click that right now. That would be one way. Or I can simply go up to the quick access toolbar and just hit the little hot button, Default 3D View. Okay, so there is our model so far. Now notice when I created that 3D view, I look down in my project browser. I have a new category here. It says 3D views. You can hit the little plus. It's bold because that's the view I'm on. Okay, there it is. Okay, so I'm using my scroll wheel and I'm kind of going in and out. Okay, now you'll notice this is a 3D view because I can see this little view cube over here. Now I could click on that view cube with my left mouse button and hold down, and I can rotate around. I can click on any aspect of this cube. You can see it highlighting and look at different parts of my model. Okay, I can click this little home button to sort of go back to like the default home view for a 3D view. Okay, so you can use this how you want. I can also hold down Shift and right click, hold down both those and rotate. I can scroll in and out with the scroll wheel, and I can hold down the scroll wheel button to pan. So pan is the scroll wheel button. Orbit is Shift and right click. Okay, there we go. So here's our model. Looks pretty good so far. All right, if I zoom in, I can see it's brick on the outside. It's just a wall at this point. I also see these datums of level 1 and roof are called out for me, so I kind of know roughly where they are. You can adjust these as you see fit. So let's see if I could bring this one in. Put them where you want. I'm going to move those back out so they align up. That looks good. Okay, let's keep building our model. So I'm going to go back to level 1 floor plan. Okay, now what I want to do is add, let's say 6 rooms up here. Just room, we're going to have like offices and then 2 restrooms. So I need to make an interior wall And I want that interior wall to be like a regular drywall type of wall. And I can do that exactly the same way that we made the exterior wall. So I'm going to go to Architecture, Wall. Now, under my type selector here, I'm going to click the down arrow and I'll go to, let's do Interior 4 7/8 partition. If you don't know in the project what type of wall this is going to be at the moment, you can just do like generic 5-inch. That would be fine. So a generic is just saying like clay wall. We don't know what it is. So I'm going to do interior 4 7/8. I am just going to start my wall like in the middle of this one. And I'm just going to draw over to the other side. There we go. Okay. Now, I select that wall. I can double check that it's going from level 1 up to roof. It's doing exactly what I want it to do. Notice that when I started from over here, it just sort of blends in right away and it draws our floor plan correctly, which is very, very nice. All right, so let's draw. Now, I don't care where this wall is at the moment. Okay, we'll get to that. Now I'm going to draw my 6 offices up here. So I'm going to select this one I just made. Right click, do create similar. I'll just draw one here. So there's one office. Here's another office. Here's another one. Here's something else. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Do one more partition wall. 5, 6. So I've got 6 rooms up here, but they're all different sizes. So we'll fix that. First thing, let's go to our 3D view and just see what we did. Okay, there it is. So there is our interior walls and our exterior wall around it. So far, so good. I'll go back to level 1. I'm going to select this wall first. Now notice when I select it, I get some handy little dimensions that just sort of pop up to help me. Now let's say I want the inside of all these rooms to be 20 feet. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I want this to be 20 feet. So I'll just go here and type in 20 feet. Now that's not exactly right because this dimension line is going from the middle of this wall to the middle of this wall. So how do we make sure the interior is 20 feet? See this little button right here, this little dot? If you click on that once, it will move around the wall. So I moved to where I want it. Now I'm going to click on it again. Now it's out there. Now it's on the middle. Now it's on the inside. Do the same here. Outside, inside. Okay, so the inside dimension is actually this. So I want to change that to 20. They're pretty big rooms. Okay, this wall is where I want it, but none of these walls are. So how do we do that? Okay, we're going to do that with a dimension string. It'll help us sort of move those walls where we need them to. So what I'm going to do is make a dimension from the inside of this wall to the middle, 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 middle inside of this wall. Just follow along with me and you'll see what we're going to do. So a dimension string is an example of a view-specific element that we're putting in. That dimension string will only appear in this level 1. It's not going to appear anywhere else in the model. It's just part of this particular view. So I'm going to go up to Annotate, Dimension, Aligned. Annotate, Dimension, Aligned. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to line up. I want to line up to the inside edge, but it's only giving me the middle. Now, if you hit Tab, it'll kind of switch to where you want it, saying, hey, do you want this? Hit Tab. Try again. Let me go on again. Let me hit Escape. Let me go back in there again. Annotate, Dimension, Aligned. I'm hovering over the wall. I'm going to hit Tab. There. Saying, do you want that or this? I want this. I'm going to click. I'm going to click to the middle of this wall, which is giving me right away. Middle, 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 middle. Wants to give me the middle, but I'm going to hit tab, edge. That's the one I want. I'm going to click. Now I'm going to move my dimension string up and click in space. You might need to do that again. Okay, look at that. There, I'm going to hit escape a bunch of times. There's a nice dimension string showing all the different dimensions of the room. Some are odd dimensions. Now do me a favor. Click on the dimension string. And you see this little button up here? It says EQ. That stands for equivalent. Watch when I click it. Boom. I just said, hey, make all these walls the same size. So it moved them and equally spaced them. Now that looks pretty nice right there. So when they're laying this out to build it, right, they would just simply write EQ, and then the builder would just measure from here to here and divide it by how many rooms there are, and that would be their dimension. All right, that looks good. So we got walls in here, and they're all equally spaced. Let's go back to our 3D view, rotate around. Everything's looking good. Let's make this view look a little better. Okay, I'm going to go down to the second button down here. So first one is scale. Next one is detail level. The next one over is visual style. Go ahead and click that button and then click graphic display options. Okay, we get this little toolbar that comes up. Let's do this. Let's turn on smooth lines with anti-aliasing. Let's go to shadows and turn both of those on and click OK. Okay. What you may have noticed is that the lines defining the walls got smoother and they just look graphically better. You can also see we have our direct shadow here and we have ambient shadows. So this wall, for example, we're seeing a gradient on that wall. Towards the edges, it's darker. The middle, it's lighter. In the biz, we call that ambient occlusion. It's more consistent with reality on how things look. And it just makes our sort of model here look a little better. So this is looking pretty good. This is a nice little view here. Okay, let's go back to level 1. All right. Next, let's add a floor. I want to put a floor in here. I'm just thinking like a concrete slab or something that's going to live on level 1 and sort of go into the ground. Okay, so I'm going to go up to architecture. I'll go to floor. And I'm going to go in my properties. Let's see what we got here. I'm going to go in my type selector. We have generic 12-inch. We have other kinds of floors in here. Let's just do generic 12-inch. Select that one. Now, you'll notice up in the toolbar, it looks a little different. It wants me to sort of draw the boundary of this floor. Whenever you see this red X and green check box here, that means you are currently in a tool. So what Revit is saying is, hey, draw me the boundary for the tool, then hit for the floor, then hit the green check. So I'm actually going to use the rectangle button to draw the boundary. I could likewise use the line button, that'd be fine. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to grab that rectangle. I'm going to start at this corner. And then I clicked once, I let go, and I'm going to drag it all the way over to here. Okay, so you see a bunch of stuff happening there, but don't worry about that. What we've made is essentially a pink box that's defining the boundary of our floor. Now hit the green check. Okay, and I'm just going to, it's highlighted right now, but I'm just going to click in space, hit escape a couple times. Now it looks like we've done nothing, right? But let's go to our 3D view. Okay, there is now a floor in here, and I can tell because if I hover over the edge, it wants to select it. But likewise, you could rotate up, and you can see that that floor is poking down 1 foot because the top of the floor is at exactly level 1. Okay, now in architecture, you guys are interiors. You would see a foundation wall come down, and then you would have a footing that would support this exterior wall, so you wouldn't see it like this. But we're not worried about that right now. We're just sort of trying to get a feel for Revit. So there's more to be done down there, but we got our floor in, and that looks good. It's a generic floor. It doesn't really have any material associated with it, but that's fine. Okay, let's go back to our level 1. Let's add some doors. All right, so I'm going to go, what I want to do is put a door into this office along this corner, a door into this office along this corner, and so on with these 2 offices and these 2 restrooms. So I'm going to go to Door, Architecture, Build Door. If I go to my type selector, you have some different size doors that you can choose from there that are, at least these are the families currently located in this file, but let's just select 36 by 84. Now, a door is looking for a wall to live in. So watch when I hover over the exterior wall. Oh, it's saying, do you want to put the door here? Do you want to put it here, here, over here? Or do you want to put it on this interior wall? I want to put it on the interior wall, but I'm not going to worry about where it is just yet. Just plop it in there. I'm going to just click. Okay, I'm going to hit escape. Okay, we put a door in. How nice is that it trims out the wall and everything for you? Don't have to do any of that. Okay, so let's go to our 3D model. Oh, there's our door right there. All right, back to level 1. Now, when I say let's go to my 3D model, I'm just saying let's go to the 3D view of the same thing. I'm not like switching to a different thing. We're just looking at it from a different perspective, a different vantage point. So, or is it vantage point? Different vantage point. So here's our door. So I'm going to click on it. Now I want the door to open in, so I'm going to hit this little arrow. Okay. Now I want the door also to be against this wall, so I'm going to hit this little arrow. So far it's in the right orientation, but it's not where I want yet. So I can hold down the left mouse button, just slide it over, and we're getting there. Okay, not bad. Here's our little quick dimensions that sort of help us. Let's click on these again, just like we did the other one from before. So I'm going to click here. Okay, it's going to that inside edge, which is kind of what a dimension I want. And I'm going to click this one once, and it switched to this inside edge. So I want this wall, this door here, to be 4 inches from the wall. So I'm going to grab that little dimension, type in 4 inches, hit enter. Okay, that door is in a good spot. Now let's mirror that over this wall. So select your door. Right away, once you select a door, your toolbar changes and saying, hey, let's modify this door. Revit's saying, I'm thinking you want to modify this door. Do you want to do something with it? Yes, we do. We want to mirror it. So I want to use one of these 2 right here. Mirror pick axis or mirror draw axis. Let's do pick axis. And if you look in the options bar, it says copy. So it's going to make a copy of this door. I'm going to bring my mouse over and just hover over the middle of this wall, and it's saying, do you want the middle axis of this wall? Yes, we do. Go ahead and click. And boom, our door just pops into place there. Hit escape, click in space, and that looks good. Let's look at our 3D view. There's our 2 doors. All right, back to level 1. I'm going to select both of these doors. I'm going to go ahead and copy them to my remaining 2 rooms here and 2 rooms here. So I've just clicked one, held down Control, click the other. Now I'm going to go up to my Modifies Doors tool panel that automatically pops up when I selected those doors. I'm going to select Copy. And I'm just going to go from, so here's a good example. I want to go from this inside corner, and then I'm going to move it to that inside corner. I'm going to turn on my thin line so I can see what's going on right there. So I make sure I grab the exact corner, but it looks like it wants me to select those doors again. So I'm going to hit escape a couple times. Select one door, hold down Control, select the other door, hit copy. I'm going to grab this corner point, and I'm going to put it at this corner point. I'm going to hit copy again, grab this corner point, and put it at this corner point. Hit escape. There, we got all of our doors in for the project, aside from our main entry door and main exit door. So let's add those right now. So I am going to grab this door because it's in a similar orientation I want. Right click, create similar. I'm just going to move the door down here, and I'm going to move another door down over here. Okay, they're not in a good position yet, but now I can go in and fine tune them. So I'm going to select that door. I want to mirror that, or flip it rather. I'm going to click my little dimension string. I want this to be, let's do 4 inches. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Let's do 4 inches there. And those doors are in at least a decent position. I might have them open out though, and have this one open out. There we go. All right, let's look at our 3D view. Oh my God, this office building's really coming together. We got a nice doors on the outside, which aren't pretty at all, and that's fine. But we're just sort of getting the feel for it. We don't have to critique our design too much. We have our interior walls, and we have our doors, interior doors there. Okay, so I'll stop this video here, and I'll make another one for the remainder of this to get you through assignment 1.